listen is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science. Both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment. Hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retrofit. It gets so lit, I guess so, bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday. Things are going to look a little bit different this evening. Just a little bit, but you still get your sports nonsense and whiskey fix. I promise you. So, going to be hanging out with the fellas here. New face. Going to discuss some golf and Masters with us. Got his drink ready. He's a good man. Chris, welcome. Pleasure to have you here this evening. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us this evening. So we should have another face coming, but fatherly duties call first, which I can respect and understand. So repeat offender, Chase Cotton. You know him and you love him. He'll be back. Oh, there he is. Look at how he labels. Oh,
as if on cue.
This guy. Only this guy would label himself this coming in. Welcome.
Oh my God.
Good sir. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm all right, dude. I've been laying in my kid's room for 30 minutes, and normally he falls asleep in 5. He's still awake, so I got the phone in there with a little bedtime story, hoping for the best.
Atta boy, you do what you got to do. I understand, so don't worry about it. But welcome. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing just fine, bro.
Atta boy. So we will discuss a little Masters this evening. Starts next week. And depending on how the sports schedule falls, we either talk about it the week prior or the week of. This year it fell the week prior. So I got my guys on here to give us some good insight on Masters and give you a little betting line tip if you want to throw down some coin, which we all know Pinky will listen to this back and he'll have money on it, even though he hates golf because he can't help himself. So that'll be fun to either hear him be incredibly disappointed or incredibly thrilled. Can't wait to hear how that turns out for him. So we'll talk Masters, Final Four. Obviously, that's going to be discussed as well. There's no getting away from that. Might talk a little WrestleMania just because that's on Saturday too, and it's always fun. NFL, NBA, whatever else the fellas want to throw out there, obviously we're going to discuss. So with that being said, Chase, it's you come on once or twice a year, so we'll let you kind of reintroduce yourself a little bit here. Pinky likes to know fandom, so I'm gonna do a little Pinky just for him because he's not here. So he likes to know your fandom and what you're looking forward to with your favorite team right now. So give the people what you got.
All right, solid. Are you asking me? Have you started this yet?
Yeah. We're live.
We're
Everybody's
in, man.
listening.
We are in.
Oh, I missed the intro and everything.
Oh, you missed every. Yeah, well, 7:30 came and went, so we went ahead and hit play.
Here we go. All right, best there is.
Whew. That could have gone really bad in so many different ways, knowing you, and amazingly enough, it just was a little bump in the road.
All right, fine. Well, Chase Wessel, aka the best there is, and I got that self-appointed nickname at the time of Carmelo and the Thuggets, big Nuggets fan. And if you ever missed that clip with him, he was there was an interview with him, and he said, how'd you just carry the team on your shoulders? He said, well, I'd really like to give a shout out to myself for carrying this team and basically being the best there is. So love me some Nuggets, love some Melo, love me some CU action, prime time.
You don't though. You don't, like, that's so gross. You're an Oregon fan and you're gonna bandwagon just because Prime's there now. Just because you graduated from a CU school, now all of a sudden you're a Buff fan, not an like, dude, gross, super gross, Cotton.
I don't like it.
You're just a hater because you're a Husker, dude, and they suck every year.
I love Prime. I'm on record on this telecast, if you want to go back and listen, that I said he was going to turn Colorado around. Like, I was mad that he was going to Colorado because I was going to have to deal with it as a Husker fan. So I'm not hating.
And he is.
Now
we got Warren Sapp in the locker room too. You gonna hate on that?
Boy, I'm not really sure where you are on the bandwagon, but I'm going to guarantee you are not up front.
Oh man,
that's a bold guarantee.
That's not. I don't even feel even remotely worried about putting my entire life savings down on that situation of where you would fall on the bandwagon of CU. Your ass would be like barely holding on to that last car. Like,
that shirt looks pretty new. That shirt looks pretty new.
Like, thank you, Chris. Yeah.
I mean, Prime is as of last year, so yeah, it's within the year.
All right, fair,
for
fair.
Sure.
Former Red Deion Sanders. Where is it? There it is, up there.
Beautiful. I do love me some Prime. Love me some Prime. So I'm not going to hate on that anyway.
Everybody loves some Prime. Love some Prime. I'm a Colorado man. Love me the Broncos. Love me some Avs. Love me some. Pretty much everybody but the Rockies.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, fair. I even saw a meme after they lost like 16-2 in that opening game. Like, Rockies officially eliminated from playoffs.
I said something along the lines of it was the only organization without any hope going into the season. And somebody was like, well, what about Oakland? I was like, yeah, I mean, even they have hope that like maybe their owner will sell the team. Like, Rockies don't even have that hope. Like, he's pretty much come out and said, like, no. This makes me a lot of money that I don't have to put any money back into. Like, I'm never selling this team. Oh, by the way, I really want to win, but I'm never going to put any money into the team. So
poor Chris Bryant. Poor Chris Bryant.
No, why would you feel bad? That man signed that contract knowing exactly where he was going. And then try to act like he didn't know it was that bad. Like, no, pretty sure every Major League Baseball player knows how bad it is.
Yeah, well, it's his fault for spelling his name with a KR. I'll tell you that right now.
It's never a good look. So, Colorado man, bandwagon college Colorado man, always good to hear. Rain dance, thank you. Chris, you're looking like Cincinnati there with all things.
Yeah. Born and raised in Cincinnati, so big Bengals fan, big Reds fan. Didn't really grow up with a pro basketball team or hockey team, so not really super as into the NBA or the NHL. Just kind of follow them loosely. And I've been out in LA for the last 14 years. I was mad that the Dodgers didn't offer me all the money that they were handing out to people around the city in the off season. But
you didn't make it as well known that you were willing to defer. That was your problem.
That's a good point.
They had this idea that you wanted it like now, like that steady paycheck. And
I did. That was my problem.
You were willing to, hold off for a couple years.
Yeah, no, I was like
mistake
right now. Yes, rookie mistake. So, but yeah, Cincinnati, all things through and through. I went to Miami of Ohio when Ben Roethlisberger was there. So I know, and I had to divorce him when he got drafted by the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know if we can. I don't know if our show wants to take the turn into Ben Roethlisberger college stories territory. I'm not sure we want that rating.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone.
Chris claims that he doesn't really know anything about NBA or hockey, but let me tell you this: it doesn't stop him from betting on it.
Well, whenever you toss a line out there on the text and no one else jumps, and I'm just feeling like I need a little action,
I like it.
You know, sometimes just got to take it. I never like it. I never feel great about it, but you know,
you're gonna have to come back on when Pinky's here, just to chat up with him, because he definitely has. The other day, he texted the group chat for the podcast, and he goes, "Bet on soccer." I'm like, "Wait, you did what?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't feel good about it." First time he's ever done it, other than like the World Cup, where I gave him a couple things to maybe throw down on, but he does not like soccer, and there was nothing else. And so he was feeling that frisky and jumped, and did not go well for him. He could have at least asked some people who know soccer, at least a little bit, and he chose not to. So that did not go well for him at all.
Reminds me of a time when I did a golf one and done several years ago, and they paid out like every quarter of the season. I won the first quarter, and then I got cocky and entered a NASCAR one and done, and I have no knowledge of NASCAR at all, and it ended in disaster. But similar type of thing. You get cocky sometimes. You get a little information, you get a little tip, and then.
My DraftKings been on zero for a minute due to such stories, and I have just chosen not to replenish for a while. So, totally understand that situation. All right. So, we like to discuss nonsense. Nonsense can be anything that you want to talk about. That's the beauty of the terminology and why we chose it, because it can be comics. We had a conversation about how I believe Anakin Skywalker would be able to beat Superman in a one-on-one battle in a bubble. And did not go well for me, according to the true comic book people. But I still believe I'm correct due to the fact that basically he became the Force at one time, and Superman has to use the Force. Kind of hard to beat something that is when you use what is. I didn't win. Majority overruled me on that one, but still fun. You can vent. We can talk movies. If you guys don't have anything that you'd like to discuss or think would be fun conversational, we can start discussing Masters, because that's also very entertaining. So I'll leave the floor open for a moment and see what you guys have to say.
I feel like you've always got some piece of nonsense, Wessel.
Always. How about Rashi Rice crashing his Corvette and and running away from the scene?
It gave me it. Okay, so anybody
don't bring me up.
You won't. Don't worry. I wasn't even gonna say it. You threw yourself out there. I mean, that's on you,
well, I
buddy.
could feel it coming. This kind of reminds me of that time that...
Look, you know as well as I do, I'm not one to discuss auto incidents. Okay? So, unless somebody else brings it up, I'm not going to be the first. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay? Easy. What I was going to say, though, is anybody that's listened to us long enough knows that if I become a big fan of yours, especially fantasy-wise, you're doomed. My curse is worse than Madden, and it will end your career, guaranteed. J.K. Dobbins, Henry Ruggs. There's a giant list. This gave me shades of Henry Ruggs. What?
So this is your fault, is what you're saying?
Well, it possibly could be. Yes, that's where I'm getting to. I said going into the year, I thought Rashee Rice was going to be really good. He ended up having a good season. I think I kept saying things are only going to get better. And then he did this. And so it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon for him, due to the fact that he decided to flee the scene and not report right away. So that usually doesn't go well. And he's not like he's making a lot of money. He's making good money, but as far as this is never going to even be talked about again kind of money, he's not on that level with his rookie deal. So
not even close.
Yeah, this could turn into a little more than a slap on the wrist, which leads to games suspended. So that's not going to be fun for him and the Chiefs, most likely.
What's the over-under on how many games he's going to get?
Oof. What's the over-under on him piecing out?
No, it ain't that bad.
You don't think
there were no fatalities, right?
Yeah, no fatalities, some injuries.
No, there's someone in the hospital. I mean, it's way less bad than like beating a woman or something, right?
They could trade him to Vegas.
I mean, if you look at the other people that have gotten in trouble, what has been their slap? About 4 games?
4 is probably a pretty good line, I think.
I'd put it at 2.5.
Ooh.
Because you always gotta have the hook, right? Like you can't just throw out an even. That's not allowed anymore. You always gotta have the hook. So I'd put it at 2.5, and I'd take the under.
Do you think though that because it's on the Chiefs, they feel like they can't kid glove them, can't show any favoritism toward a team that's a dynasty, quote unquote, and you gotta almost go the other route, give them a little extra?
It depends on how Rashee Rice and his representation wants to portray this in the public. If he comes out and he's contrite and he can say the right things in front of King Goodell, then he'll be just fine. If he wants to play the Tyreek Hill role and make some social media posts about how he's sorry, not sorry, then probably going to be over that 2.5.
Or, hear me out, what if he gets Mahomes to do a press conference and says, you can't throw the flag for something like that? Right? I mean, just saying.
Do a State Farm commercial about it?
Yep. Oh, there you go.
Uh-oh, there's a tie-in right there.
A very good tie-in. Mahomes, Mahado, and
Maoops.
Kelsey can be there in the background. Mahomes can be talking to Rice about how if you had the right coverage, you wouldn't have had this problem. And then Kelsey can be in the background being like, oh, something like that.
Liability. Yeah.
Jake comes driving in. Yeah. Jake comes driving in on the tow truck. Like a good neighbor. I mean, come on.
Andy Reid somewhere in there. Just for a cameo,
Andy Reid's driving the tow truck.
There we go. That's right.
That works.
Right.
That works.
He'd be a tow truck driver. Very believable.
Yeah, could work. That could work. I could see it. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I don't think it becomes much because I'm sure Chiefs being the Chiefs and what they're trying to accomplish will make sure it gets handled correctly. Look, the Chiefs right now give me very big shades of the early 2000s Florida Gators, where everything looks really good on the outside. Like, that's some nice white porcelain, clean, no cracks. And then you actually get up close and you're like, oh, that shit's spider webbed all to hell. Like you're not saving that. Like this is a teardown. So it makes me wonder like how close that locker room and everything really is. But dude, when the Broncos had an opportunity and Elway retired to do that three-peat because he just knew there was simply no way his body was going to hold up. New England had an opportunity and couldn't get it done. The Chiefs are now that next team that has that chance to accomplish something that no team has ever done in the NFL, which is that three-peat. So you can I feel like to win at this kind of level, you can put a lot of things to the side and overlook a lot of things to accomplish that finite end results.
It's true. And I mean, the Chiefs kind of have adapted. Even last season, they adapted a bit. I think, a lot of the talk last season was, is it the same team? Is it kind of, can Mahomes do it with that, adapting to a new receiver core and stuff? And like, they just kind of peak at the right time, I think so.
Yeah.
And as a Bengal fan, that's a scary thing to go up against,
Well, and as a Bengals fan, like I feel bad for you because honestly, it's like I feel like your guys' window has come and gone because the likelihood of that ownership actually paying to keep the amount of talent needed to compete with what teams are putting together now in the NFL on a regular basis, just from drafting good.
Sure.
So they get that small window of rookie deals mixed with some veterans and stuff, where they get that 2 to 3 year window where they can really run at it and sign that big free agent and stuff. And Cincinnati and that ownership is just not known to do that. I mean, you had an opportunity to pay T. Higgins and roll with 2 number 1 wide receivers in him and Chase, and you chose to franchise tag him, which in today's NFL pretty much means that player's leaving because that player's not, unless you're willing to all of a sudden pay him out of nowhere.
Right.
T. Higgins is going to get paid by somebody. Like, that dude will get paid. So
it's interesting he hasn't been picked up yet. I almost want to prop that he will start the season as a Bengal.
Well, he's going to, because he signed the franchise tag at this point. So
yeah.
There's no going back on that now unless they trade him somehow. Which
sure,
in order
which
to
he
do
wants,
that,
apparently,
yeah. But another team's going to have to be willing to immediately sign him to a contract if you trade.
Sure.
And why do that when at this point you're going to be able to pick him up for nothing and then just sign the deal next year instead of giving away pieces to get him this year? Because look, Cincinnati moved on from Joe Mixon, which I don't hate.
I don't hate that either.
I think he's very productive, but given the way in which he was productive for that team and the fact that O-line is still patchy,
yes,
you can pretty much put, Brown back there, or Chris Evans is still sitting on the sidelines.
Picked up Zach Moss.
I was going to say Zach Moss is now with the team. So you can piecemeal that backfield together and be fine with Joe Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and whoever they decide to bring in with the third option. I will be interested to see if the loss of Boyd is a big deal, or if Boyd doesn't find a market at all and ends up coming back to Cincinnati, which would be huge for them. But if he doesn't, it'll be interesting to see who they decide to roll with that third option. But I mean, Joe Burrow's the beast. As long as he's healthy, Cincinnati will be there.
That's the key. That's the key, and really, like, I've been used to being disappointed my entire life as a Bengals fan. Like, it's been complete misery the entire time I've been alive. And, I think that there were, even during like the Marvin Lewis era, there was, the ownership and what he was allowed to kind of do was really suspect. And it felt like he had his hands tied. And only since Zach Taylor has been there, have, like, the offseason, I've been like, okay, like picking up that Texans lineman, like, great. That's solid. Oh, we're going to add some depth here. That makes sense. Like, things are making sense. And it's a very weird feeling to have not had that your entire sport rooting life and then to suddenly get it. So yeah, I think offensively, I'm not super, the line is the big thing offensively, but defensively, we'll see. I mean, that's all you can do, and got to keep Burrow healthy and, just roll the dice every year. That's all you can do.
And that's the big one, man, because if Burrow's not healthy, the team's got nothing. All those superstars rely on him.
Yeah.
And without him,
let's be honest, that's true of any NFL team that is competing for a championship or is mentioned in that category when the season starts. If you lose your starting quarterback, the likelihood of you competing is slim to none, because part of the reason you're in that conversation is usually because you have a stud at the position. But Burrow, more so than a lot of those other guys, does seem to cover up a lot of those warts or holes, or however you want to discuss it, namely being that offensive line. So
yes,
it is interesting to see how they move forward. Be interesting to see what they do in the draft, because I said, and look, I had to eat crow. I still think if they had gone the other way and ran with Higgins as the number 1, they would have been maybe better, but Jamar Chase is a beast, so I had to eat crow. I said they should have been drafting a lineman, and that lineman was Penei Sewell, who is with the Lions and who is a mauler and a beast.
Yeah.
But they decided to go and grab Burrow's running mate back from college with Chase, and that was not. Look, I thought it would not work out as well as it has, and it did. So more power to him for making that move. But I still wonder where they would have been had they gone and grabbed that left tackle that would have been there for, a decade plus. And then, because again, they had T. Higgins, like, he was already there. So interesting things. At least you're not a Broncos fan at this point in time, because there's not a lot of good things going on in Denver at this current moment. So I promised Pinky I would be indifferent to anything they did in the draft. I would not be mad or sad or happy or glad. He's already called me out for lying, and he's right. I will definitely have a feeling one way or the other, but I'm gonna be doing my best to keep it to myself this year because I feel like 90% of the viewership of this network that we're on, the MHRT network, thinks I'm an idiot when it comes to talking Broncos, and I just try to continuously remind them that I'm one of the few who is willing to actually discuss what is in front of them, not still discussing this team and organization like it's, the bowl and run era of the 90s. So, they had a chance to draft Justin Fields and not Pat Surtain. They chose not to do that. They had a chance to do what the Steelers just did and go grab him for nothing. And they chose not to do that.
That's shocking to me that Justin Fields' market value was that at the end of the day.
I think it's I don't think it's a knock on Fields. I think what it truly is the fact that once again Chicago played their hand so poorly that the league went, hey, no, you're right. Yeah, he's worth the first. Super talent. Totally agree with you. Totally. Yep. We'll give you a 7th.
Right.
Or you can keep him and still draft at the number 1 spot and take a quarterback. How do you want to? Yeah. And then Pittsburgh finally came in and they're like, so I heard they're going to give you. We'll do a 6th that can become a 4th. Like, what do you think about that? Like, does that sound? That sounds pretty. And Chicago's finally like, oh, we were wrong. Yep. That sounds good. Let's go.
Unbelievable.
Hang on. Wait, Biggie. Look, I was wrong about Kenny Pickett, Biggie. If you go listen last week, the week before, a couple weeks back, it's been a minute since we've talked, so I apologize. But I went on record. I shouted you out. I said I was wrong. I'm eating my crow. Baker is better than Kenny Pickett. I was wrong. Kenny Pickett is a little bitch. He doesn't even want to compete against Russell Wilson for a starting position. I also said, though, that I would have never drafted Kenny Pickett. I would have rather had Malik Willis and seen what possibly could have happened with him over Kenny Pickett coming out of Pittsburgh. Like, I wasn't foolish. I was just really down on Baker Mayfield. So, Biggie, I apologize. Baker is better than I want to give him credit for. I still don't like saying it because I don't think Baker's somebody you can build your franchise around and hope to truly win. He's just not going to let you lose, which then puts you in the really precarious situation of not having a great draft pick every year. So that's not where I would want to be. But you're right. You're right, Big E. Baker is better than Kenny Pickett.
All day.
So, that's just an awkward, transition into whatever we want to discuss next, which I really want to get into the Masters with you guys. And then we can come back to, I'm a big basketball guy, Chris. Cotton knows this. He doesn't even let me play basketball with him anymore because his ankles are so swollen and sore.
Dude, give me a break.
Oh, Cotton. Look, quick story.
Caleb thinks he's the professor over there.
Quick story. Look, Cotton, let's not. Come on. I haven't touched a ball in like 10 years, and I'll still put you on your ass. Like, let's not go there. But I'll give you your due. I will give you your one story. We'll backtrack just a moment from sports. I'll give the audience a quick story time.
Give it up.
We were at this gym. It was me, Cotton, and another buddy. I don't even remember the third dude at this point in time. And we were playing some, some 21 and some knockout and little one-on-one tournament kind of rotation style and all the other stuff. And whether Cotton wants to admit this or not, I'm running through everybody. And we get to a point where Cotton starts hitting some shots that I should have been playing a little bit better defense. And he made me eat my words a little bit. I was still okay. I was still winning. And then all of a sudden we're to a point where it's like he could tie this up and I could be in danger. and this old dude, like we're at a country club for one, okay, but we're the only ones in the gym, and we've been there for a couple hours at this point. Some old guy out of nowhere just starts walking through the gym, like staring us down while we're playing, like we're doing something wrong on the basketball court playing basketball. Like it was one of those like get off my lawn scenarios. Couldn't understand what these young men, because we're like 22, 23 at this point, running open gyms,
Yeah, really
like
20.
we weren't kids. But he's walking through just staring us down. Chase looks at me, calls check. I pass it back to him. He takes one dribble to his right, and he's like 30 feet out. Like, this isn't even a question. Like, I'm good with the shot, by all means. Yells rain dance like he's goddamn Along Came Polly. Buries it. Net doesn't even make a sound. And as he's yelling rain dance, as the shot's still in the air, Steph Curry style, turns and stares down the old man. And when the shot goes in, I'm mad because now the game's tied. He gets the ball back and actually has an opportunity here to do something. And the old guy, like, the jaw drops. Like, this old guy's jaw drops. And they gave Cotton, like, this, like, almost nod of approval. Like, oh, you can ball. Like,
you can be here.
Carry on. And I'm just like, this did not just, like, what just happened here?
That's a very you story, Chase.
Rain dance.
If rain dance is ever mentioned around this man, there's a reason for such terminology.
Pressure is on. I rise to the occasion, Caleb.
Let's not get carried away. I've played golf with you. You might be able to drive for show, but when that nice flat putter comes out, I don't know, Cotton.
We don't need to talk about the putter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
why putt when you can just chip in with your 9-iron, right?
Yeah, it's so much easier than putting.
Why putt if you don't have to?
You should just do that every time. And in fact, there was one round that I played with Chris and another couple guys, and I kept missing the green by this much. So I was right on the fringe, and every single time a little 9-iron bump and run to this close or in. It was like, why? I'm just going to do this every time.
I've never hated a specific club more than that round.
Ron Wessel would not approve of that situation. I'm just going to make sure that that's mentioned right now.
Hey, if the hole is par, he does.
If they're going in, what's not to approve of?
Exactly.
I guarantee you, if you're doing that the first 9, Ron is still shaking his head when you pull it out on 10.
Not if I'm beating him.
Whether or not it's going in.
Not if I'm beating him.
Oh goodness. Well,
which doesn't happen. All right.
As I'm known to do, these smooth transitions they happen naturally. They're just something that comes to me without hesitation. So as we speak of golf, there is a giant tournament going on that kicks off the golf year for all intents and purposes, starting next Thursday. You could really say it kicks off next Wednesday with my personal favorite golf event of the year, just because of what the par 3 is and everything that's involved with it. I think that's a very hard event to beat in any sport, as far as I'm concerned. But the Masters, hello, my friends. Come chat with us for a moment.
I can hear the piano right now.
Right?
I can hear the birds fluttering.
Thank you.
CBS just typing those birds in.
The azaleas just right
Why
there.
would you not? Pink on green background. I mean, does it get much better, gentlemen?
No.
Good morning, my friends.
So at one point I will get down there, and I can't wait to eat on an egg salad sandwich for $1.50 that hasn't changed in 80 years or whatever it is. And by all accounts is just delicious. So let's discuss a little Masters event. Now, everybody knows I love golf, but I don't follow it closely enough to truly give you any more insight than what I'm going to read from the national media here on ESPN, whatever it might be. These gentlemen, though, part of the reason they're on this wonderful evening is because they do follow it, on a week-to-week-ish basis, if you will. So they have a little bit more insight. They can talk to you with a little bit more knowledge on who's greens and regulation top, or who's getting them fairways hit off that drive, and kind of dive a little bit deeper than just some of my general knowledge that I'm going to give you. So as we approach Masters Week, I will lead with this sounds like we're talking like the last 3 years. Scotty Scheffler's on fire to start the season.
Whew.
So let's just start right there. Is he the favorite going into the Masters this year? I mean, is there anybody else that you would even put on the same odds as him at this point?
John Rahm, maybe.
No. No, I think there is a top tier, which is Scotty Scheffler, and everybody below him. He is obviously the person to beat right now. The dude is on fire. But yeah, like Chris Johnson said over there, John Rahm is a beast. He's won it before.
Now both have green jackets, right? Scotty's got his 2 years ago, was it?
Mm-hmm. Rahm's defending.
Right. So this isn't like guys who haven't played well there recently. Like a big fan for me, I always talk to Chase about Jordan Spieth, and Chase always tells me there's not a chance. And then the week leading up to whatever tournament I'm discussing, whichever major I'm discussing, he plays really well. And then Chase goes, well, I mean, I would put money on it, but maybe. And then he fails because he hasn't played well like the last 4 years in majors for whatever reason. But I always like pulling for Spieth there. I mean, he's got, lowest round to par tied with Tiger. I like
that
Rory
was
just because I like
Spieth got in his own head.
I know. I mean, look, golf is very much between the ears, right? So when you start doing something that throws off anything that you were comfortable with, it becomes ugly quickly and it's hard to recover from. But I still look, Spieth's won twice at Augusta, right? Or is it just the once?
Let's see.
I feel like he's got four.
That man.
I feel like he's got 4 majors total.
2015 was the only year. Yeah.
And then he won the Open twice, the U.S. Open.
Yeah, he won at Chambers Bay because Justin Johnson 3-putted.
Yep.
And has he won that twice?
I feel like Spieth has three majors. Am I wrong? I'll have to do some research here.
That feels right.
But I've always kind of liked Spieth, so I pull for him. I pull for Rory, but only at the U.S. Open. Is it the U.S. Open is the only one he doesn't have? I'd like to see him complete the career
Masters
Grand Slam.
He doesn't have the Masters.
Is it the Masters that he doesn't have?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. That's the only one.
So I pull for Rory at the Masters because I'd like to see him get that career Grand Slam. I got nothing against Rory. I'll always pull for Tiger. His dominance over the years, like anytime somebody throws up a Tiger stat where it's like he did 3-putt between 1999 and 2014. It's like, God dang, like, yeah, Jack's got the most majors, but Tiger's got the most career wins. And then you look at some of these just dominant runs he went on over stretches. It's hard to say he's not the best. Now, conversation for another day. We can table that, but just to kind of put things into perspective, Tiger Masters is kind of his place. He loves it. So always there. Is Phil playing this year? I was waiting to ask this. I didn't even look it up.
Phil is playing, and he's cheap on the DraftKings.
So Phil likes Augusta, and Augusta likes Phil.
He T2'd last year, did he not?
He did. Not
with
good.
Another live golfer, Brooks Koepka.
Yep.
Oh.
Now there's another name I was going to mention. How you guys feeling about Koepka? Because he has not won the Masters, but the dude is basically majors or bust, and I know for a fact he has 5 career. But this is one he has not won.
Koepka always shows up.
2 runners up.
He was runner up last year, was he not? With a chance to if Rahm had fallen off a little bit, be right there.
He was, and he finished runner up like 2 years prior as well. So Brooks he's at the top of my list for me. And you know what? A lot of those live guys are, because they're playing with a chip on their shoulder that, you know, people are writing them off like, hey, you just chase the money. But they're still like, we're still some of the best golfers in the world. You have Rahm, you got DJ, you got Brooks,
Patrick Reed,
Bryson,
former champion,
who just went over there, who just left before the season kicked off. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, side note, pause Augusta National for a moment, because Chase and I have talked about this when Liv really got kicked off, and I was a big fan of it, because when the PGA handles their business the way they did, and they thought the status quo was always going to remain, and you keep treating these golfers as, for lack of a better way of explaining it, rentals from week to week, something was bound to change. And I'm all for, dude, you want to go play 3 days instead of 4? You want to collect a bag to do it, and as of right now, still play for all the golf tournaments that matter, in my opinion, which is 4 of them when it comes to your legacy? Why would you not? Oh, by the way, the PGA does business with a bunch of people who do business with said owner of Live Golf. So being the middleman and taking the money from the backside or just taking it directly is the same thing to me. So anybody that wants to discuss blood money, I've already stopped listening to you. Let's just start there. But Chris, what are your thoughts on Live Golf?
I don't see how you can fault these guys for taking this money. It is so much money that they're throwing at this talent that, you know, John Rahm, growing family. I think his wife's pregnant with his third. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take the money? Cam Smith, you're an up-and-comer, sure, on the PGA Tour, but you're offered millions upon millions of dollars. Like, and even guys like Phil, or guys who are kind of more of a mid-level golfer on the PGA Tour, like a Jason Kokrak, or guys like that, like, and they're waving that money in front of you. Yeah. How many tournaments would you have to win? Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about generational wealth money.
Exactly.
Unless you are just an idiot, this means your family never works again money.
Yeah.
If you're smart with it. So, like, why would you not? I don't understand. So, I love Liv. I need one of these dudes to finally win a major.
It might happen. It might happen in a week.
They've been knocking on the door. Year one, this shit all goes down. And Koepka and I'm going to draw a blank, almost win the PGA Championship. Of all majors to win, the first one the Live guys are going to play in as official Live guys is the PGA Championship, and they almost walk away with that title. Like, I wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. But it'll be interesting to see. So, love that we're all on the same page there. So, back to Augusta National.
Mm-hmm.
Phil's playing, loves Augusta. Augusta loves Phil. He can still get it done there. I fully believe that, because Augusta isn't as much about distance as, say, your U.S. Open, PGA, depending on the course. It's more about playing the course. Now, they've lengthened it over the years, obviously, but Augusta is about playing the course, and you know what it is. And some guys still suck every year. It's plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Another name I love that I've always been a big fan of, it's another Live guy that hasn't won a whole lot recently, but when he shows up to Augusta, he could be out before the weekend, or he could be sitting right at the top of the leaderboard, is Bubba.
Bubba. Yeah, former winner, right? I mean,
hi, Caleb. Former winner a long time ago, but if you've watched him on the Live Tour, he is not in form and hasn't been since he joined.
But Augusta, the thing about Bubba, and this is why Phil plays well there too, is their natural fade as lefties play right into that course on a number of the most difficult holes, namely Amen Corner.
I would be bold enough to say Bubba did not make the cut last year at Augusta, and I don't think he's going to make the cut this year at Augusta.
And that, like I said, it would not surprise me at all if he was out before the weekend, or if he was competing at the top of the leaderboard, because I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 years ago, he came out of nowhere and was was there Saturday afternoon and then fell off, I think, rather quickly Sunday morning. Or I guess it would have been Sunday afternoon, but kind of fell off rather quickly, but was still there come the weekend. And it just is because he's a former winner, because that course plays so well to his natural swing.
Yeah.
So long shot, you want to throw $1 on somebody that could like net you like what, 20 or something, maybe? Like, okay, I'm not going to say he's going to win. That wouldn't be who I would pick to be at the top of the leaderboard when Sunday afternoon rolls around. So with that being said, started with Scotty Scheffler being hot. We've thrown out some names. Chris, let's start with you. Who are you really looking to make a run this weekend? And either you feel really good that they're going to win, or kind of a dark horse who you feel could kind of make a name for themselves even more so than maybe they already are?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, I think Scotty Scheffler is certainly the shining golfer on the hill right now. He's been playing so well. He missed a putt to force it to a playoff last week at the what is that, the Houston Open, now that they're calling it. And the interesting part last week was that Scotty Scheffler, and let me make sure I get this correct here. Scotty Scheffler lost 2.3 strokes, shots gained putting. He lost 2.3 strokes to the field putting, and he still was putting for par to send it into a playoff.
That's not good for the field when the dude who is winning is putting poorly.
Right. He only gained 0.89 strokes on the field in the last tournament, and still missed a putt to send it to a playoff. So I think certainly Scotty Scheffler is certainly a favorite. Jon Rahm,
and he's won there. So it's not like he's trying, and that pressure of getting that first green jacket is going to be hovering over him like a Rory.
Yes.
So
Rahm, the last five, he's defending champion. Out of the last 5 years, the worst he's finished is T27, and his top 10s the other 4 years with a win. A couple of guys who have been in good form lately, past winner Hideki Matsuyama, who hasn't finished worse than T32 in the last 5 years.
Was he runner-up last year? I know I was saying Koepka, but actually, now that I think about it,
he was 16th last year.
Was it 2 years? He was sitting right there at the end. I remember one of these years recently.
Yeah. I mean, he was 16th last year, 14th the year before, won 13th, and then 32nd. So he's always top 20, and he's been playing well. Another guy who's usually like a bridesmaid, never a bride, but has been playing very, very good golf is Xander Schauffele.
That's one of the names I was going to ask about here in a second. So
tell you, T10 last year, was cut in 2022, but before that, T3, T17, T2 here. If he can get a breakthrough win at Augusta, that would be massive. And I'll let Chase give out his view. Another guy who's kind of dark horse, but kind of not, is Sungjae Im. A guy who plays sneaky good, especially with his irons. T16 here last year, T8 the year before, was cut, T2'd at Augusta in the weird 2020 year. So I think could come out of, if there's a guy to come out of nowhere that nobody's talking about, might be a decent, throw $5 on him on the Vegas odds.
Name. I like that. Let me ask, I got a name for each of you. So let me ask you about this guy, Chris, because he's one who, before COVID, broke through once. Then I believe he got his second during COVID, if I'm remembering correctly. People were really looking for him to kind of break out and just start rolling, similar to Spieth and Rory and some of the others in his group. And that's Justin Thomas. How are we feeling about him rolling into this Masters weekend? He's got 2 major championships, but has not historically played great at Augusta, and hasn't been last year or so. I mean, almost feels like he lost his swing. What are we thinking about Justin this week?
Not good. I am, Chase and I are in the same DraftKings league, but I'll telegraph this right to him. I'm fading Justin Thomas hard this week. There's no way I'm taking Justin Thomas this week. I would much rather take Spieth, who T4'd at Augusta last year. So Justin Thomas has had, he and Spieth have kind of had these kind of weird career like weird fall offs where they're still kind of elite, but are not performing up to snuff. That combined with not a great track record at Augusta. I mean, I think if he's making the cut, he's a T40 type of guy.
Okay. I like that. I don't disagree as much as I like that group. Who is it? Spieth, Thomas. There's like 4 or 5 of them, right? That roll in that group together.
Yeah. One of who's a broadcaster now, Smiley Kaufman, rolled in that group for a while.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him.
Indeed.
Okay, all right.
James, Ricky goes in there too, right?
So that's where I was going to lead off at next. Actually, is Ricky is in that group. I've always been a big Ricky fan. It's kind of personal. My cousin, his former spouse, knew Ricky. He was able to meet Ricky, hang out with him when he was first coming up on tour wearing the all orange Puma. So ever since then, I've been a big Ricky fan ever since he came up. Looked like he was going to come through on, was it the PGA Championship that was out in LA last year? Or was it the US Open? I'm drawing a blank here. I think it was the PGA.
He's spiked a little bit recently, a couple of times, I feel
been playing played well, but could never break through, and then kind of fell off like your Spieth Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made a little bit more of a resurgence than those other two, it feels like, over this last year. I always bring him up to Chase, and he always slaps me in the face, similar to Spieth. I just, unfortunately, I got a thing for this group of dudes, apparently. But how are we feeling about Ricky this year? Could Augusta this year be his where he finally breaks through?
No chance in hell. No chance in hell. Ricky, you want to talk about, current form? He's not there. And Augusta is not the course to find it. Augusta is a hard course. And, it's not like he's playing the Valero and can find it. This is the
Valero Spieth tournament. Let's be clear. That's not where Ricky does work. That is Jordan's
all I'm
home.
doing
Leave
is
him alone.
throwing out a small, lesser tournament at a much easier course.
I'm just saying. Spieth's my guy, and he plays well at Valero, and that's what usually gives me the confidence to tell you he's going to play well at a major. And then
you're right. Spieth plays everywhere well in Texas.
Yeah,
he's from here, bro. But there's a better chance of hell freezing over than Ricky breaking out at the Masters.
Okay.
What do you think his finishing point is, Chase?
Yeah, I was going to say, does he make the weekend?
Where does he finish?
The weekend?
Ooh, I think he's going to be right on that cut line, man. I think he's going to be right on the cut line. Because, he's not a bad golfer. He's not the prime Ricky that he once was. But since he won that tournament last year, that was kind of like his high point. And then he's really just kind of tailed off since then. Hasn't really shown any glimmers of the big dick Rick, as they call him at the Waste Management. He doesn't bring that same mojo.
That might be the best single sporting just entity event in the world.
The Waste
just
Management?
Because of hole 16, hole 16 alone might just make it such. But continue.
Well, you had just asked me about Ricky. Were you going to ask me about someone else? You were throwing out another
No,
name?
I was going to say, so, obviously Chris is giving us some options here, Scotty being right at the top of the list.
Yeah, there's no denying Scotty.
Oh, well, and Rom, and obviously Chris went very generic for us. Thank you, Chris. There's a reason for it, obviously. But outside of those kind of top names and reason for them being top names, are you seeing somebody who could come from the back end of the field? And he's a big name, and it's not the only reason I mention him, but Phil has played good golf at times out of nowhere, and I believe him and Tiger at Augusta could still find that form out of nowhere. Is there somebody like a Phil or Tiger or a big name that maybe people aren't thinking about that you see could make a run on the weekend?
Well, I don't think you can write off Phil by any means. Phil's won the Masters 3 or 4 times. He was, I think, runner-up last year. And he's one of the guys that's like, he's got a big chip on his shoulder going to Live. He wants to prove more than anybody that he can do it, and I think he still can. And he is, if we're talking about DraftKings and people that are going to take him, he's at the bottom of the list. He's like $7,000 or maybe even the high 6,000. But I liked what Chris said about Xander. That guy is always, I feel like every tournament he's entered, he's top 10, and he's kind of that model of consistency that he might not win every week, but like you're not seeing more top fives from anybody else. And we talked about Brooks a little bit. The guy is just, he is a majors machine. And I think he's going to be really hungry for the Masters. But there's one guy that I want to talk about here, and that's Wyndham Clark.
All right.
Not a huge name, but you want to talk about current form. The only person that's beat him prior to this last week was Scotty Scheffler. He finished second to him 2 weeks in a row. This last week, he almost didn't even play because he was having such horrible back issues. And he still made the cut, and I think finished it, I don't know, 30th, something like that. And that was on him not even knowing if he could play. He was like, yeah, I'm taking like half swings out here, and he was just happy that he made the cut type of deal. But he took this week off so that he could rest. And if you want to talk about current form, other than Scotty Scheffler, this dude's on fire. And I think him losing to Scotty multiple times in a row is really gonna be a motivating factor for him. And I've watched some stuff with him. He's really been working with a head coach doctor, because like you said, it's all between the ears up there. And once he's able to kind of have that calm mind and demeanor, he plays so much better, and it's very apparent. So Wyndham.
Quick side note, while you're still talking about Wyndham, I wanted to throw this out because it's something I was thinking about with Tiger, and I meant to look this up earlier, and then you mentioned Wyndham and back. How was the weather last year for the Masters?
Ooh.
Not good. Not something I would choose to play golf in, given the opportunity, right? So looking at it this year, boy, this favors anybody that's got some nagging injury. We're talking 82, 82, 82, 81 for the 4 days as a temp high. Mostly sunny, 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 mostly sunny. Chance of rain, 20, 10, 10, 20. I mean, this is exactly what you picture. Augusta National, beginning of April, Masters. This is the weather you envision normally. And that plays in huge to guys like Chase is bringing up with a Wyndham Clark back, a Tiger, a Phil. Some of these guys, I'll even throw out a Brooks Koepka with that knee issue that he had that caused him to miss some, even though he didn't necessarily miss time, really caused him to miss a lot of cuts and probably should have just taken the time off before he ended up being forced to take the time off because of the surgery with his knee issue. So I like that, Chase, throwing out the Wyndham Clark, even though maybe there's some issues injury-wise that could be concerning. That's beautiful weather. I mean, you don't get much better than that.
Yep, exactly. And like I said, he's taken this week off to rest up. And watching the interviews from him last week, after he made the cut, he was saying how bad it was. And by, Saturday, he was able to take, 3/4 swings versus half swings. And Sunday they interviewed him again. And he was like, yeah, it's loosening up. I'm feeling a lot better type of deal. And I think with the week off too, I think he'll be just fine. And I think, like I said, that guy's so motivated right now that, I mean, he'd have to pull a Tiger and crash his car to not enter and finish high. He's definitely at the top of my list, and there's not really a doubt in my mind that he doesn't make the weekend at least. But I think he's going to be right up there competing.
Does he have a major championship? I feel like he won one recently.
No, he's got some wins on the PGA, but no major wins.
Who won the Open Championship last year?
Statman?
On it.
Googling.
All right. While he Googles,
Wyndham Clark's a great pick, though. I got to say, like Wyndham Clark
like
is a good call. Yeah, and
go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
He T31 last week and gained over a shot on the field total with a hurt back. Granted, I don't believe he's ever played Augusta before, and that doesn't always favor. I mean, that doesn't favor a newcomer. I mean, we haven't had a new winner there since I believe Fuzzy Zeller won the Masters when he was a first time player.
Oh. How the mighty have fallen.
right. But I think maybe a sneaky like T25 bet on Wyndham Clark wouldn't be out of the question. I don't think.
All right. Now, as you're looking up this major winner, the Open.
Yes, the Open.
Your eyes lit up a little bit there. I noticed when I said basically who you liking as a dark horse. Somebody we might know, but maybe isn't expected to make a run, but could. That I saw you. It looked like you had a name in mind that you really liked. Now, if this ruins your bet line, then you shouldn't have come on and talk about it publicly. If that means you're not coming on ever again, so be it. But you're gonna have to mention it now.
Is that directed at me?
He's talking to you, Johnson. You're the one with the sparkly eyes.
I saw it. I saw right before Chase mentioned Wyndham Clark. I saw when I asked that question. I saw you kind of almost like you were like, but I'm not going to say this. But now you're going to have to say it.
That is fair. That is fair. I know a lot of people are hot on Sam Burns, but I'm not super hot on him going into this. Oh, and the Open winner last year was Brian Harman. Won the Open last year.
Thank you.
And just out of curiosity, let me see. He has not had the best. He T12'd at Augusta in 2021 and then was cut the last 2 years. So not awesome. It's so hard to, because I feel like at Augusta you forget about known players who can pop because everybody plays it, right? So like we haven't even talked about DJ, who is a winner, right? We haven't talked about Cam Smith, who has played this course extremely, like T34 last year. The years before that were T3, T10, T2. And like a guy that went to Live, who's kind of in everybody's blind spots.
There's the reason he got the deal from Live. He had that hot streak that got him. Did he win 2 majors in that year and a half span or something like that? And then got paid by Live. So
he was on a super hot streak. Yeah. He really was. And I looked back at Justin Thomas at Augusta, and quite honestly, he was cut last year, but before that it was T8, T21, 4th, T12. Ooh. Granted, he doesn't have form right now. Granted,
but he plays well at Augusta.
He plays sneakily well at Augusta. He plays sneakily well.
Who's the name, Chris? Who's the name? Because I got a name. You
do have a name. I think the name. It's somebody who is coming off of injury, who people have forgotten about his good form at this course. He doesn't have deep history at this course, but he has good history at this course. Is Will Zalatoris?
Ooh.
I think Will Zalatoris has been playing pretty good.
Gilmore's caddy, who turned pro. Yes,
exactly.
Gilmore's caddy, baby.
He's fixed his short wobbly putting. His new putting stroke is kind of working. He didn't play in last year's Masters because of injury, but before that, the 2 Masters he's played, T6 and 2nd. So I think I wouldn't hate throwing some money down on Will Zalatoris at all. So. He's sneaky. He's sneaky.
I like that. I like that. Mine is a dude who went out and played the par 3 and dislocated his ankle and threw it back in all by himself so he could still play at Augusta National his first time ever. A dude who's played really well, actually, since then over the last couple of years, but has not broken through yet. Mm-hmm. And I just have this feeling for some reason that this could be his year at Augusta National. And that's Mr. Tony Finau. Now, with that being said, I have another question to throw out to you guys while I throw out Tony Finau, who has played relatively well at Augusta. Statman, you'd have to you'd have to look up the actual finishes because I wouldn't be able to say how well, but I feel like he usually makes the weekend.
Always, since 2019 at least. Yeah.
Nice. That's what I like to hear. So that's a name I'm looking at this year to break through. I also want to know, and this is one of those, me being a sports junkie, that I kind of know these maybe things that other people, your normal fan, casual fan, wouldn't know. I want so badly for somebody to win the par 3 and the Masters. I want the curse to be over. I want more people on tour playing that tournament to take advantage of that par 3 tournament because of what it is. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But to kind of lead into that, do either of you feel like there's somebody, and I don't know if it's announced yet. I haven't looked, and to be honest with you, I don't really know if it's ever announced this early. Do you feel like there's anybody who's going to play the par 3 that has a legit chance to win the tournament?
I mean, dude, anybody that plays the par 3 has a legitimate chance to win the tournament.
But it's never
everybody
happened before.
there.
Gary Player has a legitimate chance. He plays the par 3. He does not have a legitimate chance.
There you go. All right. You named one.
But in all honesty,
you named
right?
one.
It's never happened. The winner of the par 3 tournament has never gone on to win the actual Masters. And I think like that would be the most epic week in all of sports, in all the sportsdom. If you could go out and win the par 3 tournament and then win the Masters, I don't know if you can literally say there is anything in sports that would compete with being able to do that in a week of what a team or individual could do in that time span. I don't know if anything could compete with that. And I'll explain why here in a moment when we talk about the par 3 before we move on to other things. But do either of you think there's, like, is there a name legitimate that you would be like, yeah, they could do that? Ricky, Spieth, Justin Thomas, that group, guys, they always like to play it together. Usually, you get some of the other names. Tony Finau, as I said, played it and dislocated his ankle because he had a hole-in-one and started running down the little fairway and jumped and dislocated his ankle and cost himself the Masters, most people thought, and somehow came out and still competed. But is there a name? Is there somebody where you're like, yeah, like if they played the par 3, like is there somebody you're looking at that could do that? Like legitimately you feel good about? Or is that curse so great? Like my curse that I mentioned earlier that's worse than the Madden cover. Like, is that one of those things that's so great that you're not doing both? So if you really want to win Masters, you're not playing in the par 3. Like, is that one of those things?
Looking back at the par 3 winners, no. The answer is no.
Yeah, when I pull up the past winners as well, the answer is no. And I think the answer for that is that the guys that are focused on winning the Masters, the tournament that everybody cares about so much, aren't focused about the par 3. They're focusing on the weekend and the 4 rounds they have to get through. They're not out there to have a good time. You know, they're focused. They are on the range practicing. They're on the putting green practicing for the Masters tournament, not the par 3 that people like us care about. But, you know, there's a reason why these smaller names win it, and it's because they're guys that don't have a shot at winning the Masters.
So this is my take, and you guys tell me what you think. The par 3 is one of my favorite events in all of sports. And I mentioned that kind of before we got started. And part of that is because it's not taken seriously in the sense that if guys lose, they're disappointed. It is a family event. That is what it has been built to be. And the Masters has embraced that tenfold. And so you get guys like Jack Nicklaus' grandson,
dude,
hitting a hole-in-one on whatever it is, 16 or whatever of the par 3. That everybody
doesn't get any cooler than that,
on, right?
That was so good.
They let their caddies, their family members, their children come on and do a putt or play the hole so that they could carry the bag for them, and it becomes this. insanely wholesome event that, like, you want to shit on Disney for being wholesome and there's reasons to do so, fine. You want to shit on the par 3 for being wholesome, I will punch you right in the nose. Because it's like the definition of what wholesome should be in all the best ways. And they bring out their grandsons to caddy, or their spouse, or their best friend who just fought and won against cancer. Like, there's so many of these cool stories that the par 3 allows for all these things to be a part of. Tony Finau getting a hole-in-one in his very first ever Masters appearance in the par 3 event, and then dislocating his ankle, popping it back into place himself, and still finding a way to compete in the tournament. And I believe I might be crazy, but I believe he finished top 10 that year somehow still. Like, it just creates these really great stories that you should not be mad at, to the point where, and this is blasphemy and I don't actually mean it, but I kind of do. If I was given the chance to play the par 3 course or Augusta National, I would choose the par 3 course because of what it is and what it means.
And because you suck at golf.
You can't
hit those fairways,
Cotton, but for the amount you play, you're not really better than me, and that's a problem.
You have lost your mind. You can only say that on a podcast. You wouldn't say that in real life.
I would, and I'd bet on it in real life and lose, because it's happened many times. But look, if I could play the amount you play, I would be a lot better than I am. Like, let's be honest about the situation. I play once a year, twice a year. I don't get to play as often as I want to.
That's about on par with me, and now that I have 2 children, bro.
Well, so you understand.
I don't get to play either, but I'm an athlete, so I still keep peak physical condition.
Guys, like if we went through like a decathlon of sports of the fandom's choosing, I just want to be clear. I'm sitting at like a minus like 1,200 on this line. Like, I just want to be clear if it's between me and Cotton.
Wow. On what line?
Whatever 10 sports they want to pick, Cotton.
You have lost your damn mind.
I will run
How much whiskey did you have before we started this?
I could have a couple glasses more and still keep the line at 12. We're good. No doubt in my mind. You want to talk about playing some mean trumpet and giving me that outcast line? You will destroy me every time. But if we're gonna put money between the lines, I have no doubt, my guy. Unless baseball. Caleb. You played baseball a little bit longer than me. I'll give you the baseball.
All right. The backtracking starts already. Here we go.
I mean, 10. I only have to win 6 of them. We could give you golf and baseball, and I'm still good 8 out of 10. Not a problem, my guy.
Caleb, you have lost.
You want to throw a 100-yard dash in there? I'll run backwards. What do you want to do?
Oh, Caleb. Now I know you're high.
No,
you might get soccer and basketball, and that's about it, bro.
What? God, we're not going down this road tonight. Let's just not do this. Just the best there is. I allowed you to keep it. Just be happy about it. Just be happy there, my guy.
You didn't have a choice. I'm gonna go back to golf here. We were talking dark horses before we moved on
to
par 3,
though. Is there? Yeah. Go ahead. Nice transition. Smooth. Well played.
I was just gonna reconfirm that, it is a great family event, but the players that play that aren't focused on winning.
Well, that's what I was going to say is
they are,
because they're out there to do it with their family, right? So they're using it as this complete decompression before the grind of that tournament starts. And that's usually what the guys who are favored to win it are doing. So that's why I think it would be so unique and why I would think it'd be so cool and such an epic week is if somebody went out there and won the par 3 and won the Masters.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool. But I mean, 2018 par 3 winner was Tom Watson. So
right. Right.
And also, if anybody from Augusta National is listening, Caleb made it very well known that he doesn't want to play Augusta National. He just wants to play the par 3, so you can open that slot up for.
That is not what Caleb said.
Rewind it. Rewind the tape.
That's what I heard.
Go back. Hey,
Throw the flag.
I I have learned I have to be careful with what I say because Pinky will own me on this, and I've eaten more crow than I probably would like to here. But I said I would rather play Augusta National, but it kind of a part of me would say the par 3 over Augusta National, even though that's not true. That's pretty much what I said. And we can go back and listen to it. I would still rather play all 18 of Augusta National. Saying you would not want to play Amen Corner, you should be punched right in the face. Like, that alone is a punchable offense. Plain and simple.
Sounds like you should.
I don't know if you'd have enough. I don't know if you can fit enough golf balls in your bag, Caleb.
Oh, God, no. No, probably not, Chase. I don't doubt that at all.
You wouldn't make it to Amen Corner. You'd be out of balls before then.
Oh, no. I'd make the round with whatever I had, but it would turn into a lot of gap wedges at some point because I'd be down to one ball. So I definitely have to roll conservatively at some point. I might even have to just break out the putter and just tee it up. Just to be on the safe side.
Texas wedge it all the way down the fairway.
Yeah, if that's what it takes just to finish 18 at Augusta, I'll do it.
No shame in taking a 10.
Maximizing your time on the course. That's what I see.
All putter.
I know for a fact, guaranteed, and if either one of you deny this, I'm going to punch you in the face when I see you next time. But I fully believe there are now. For me, it's going to be more than you two because you play on a regular basis. But there are a very high handful of holes that if I had to play from the tips, I'm not even making the fairway.
Oh, hands down.
And that's with a really good tee shot.
We have no business playing from the tips.
Yeah, no, that would be disgusting.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm on this show and not on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Tell us about your dark horse, Chase. You got another dark horse, I heard.
Yeah, I want to hear the last one.
I've got two of them, actually. First one is Cameron Young.
Okay. I like that name.
Not talked about a whole lot, but you want to talk about current form. The dude is in current form for sure. Finished second last week at Valspar. I was looking at last year's finishing scores, and he was at T7.
Yes.
The dude balled, -6. So, he's going to be one of those guys that, he's not a big name at all. So he's not going to be highly owned, but the chance of him popping off are good.
He was in contention a couple of weeks ago too, and he's one of those guys who's been second a bunch of times and is just gotten eked out. But last year he gained over 1.3 strokes on the field at Augusta, so that's not a bad call. I don't hate that at all.
I like it. What's the other one?
The other one, I don't really like this dude very much. I'm just going to lead with that. But Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's pretty cheap on the list.
He's hung around for the last couple of years and not quite broke through.
Yep, absolutely. He was a T10 last year at the Masters. But again, his form is hot right now. He's one of those dudes that tracks every single shot that he's hit at every single golf course. And you want to talk about being prepared for this course mentally. There's not going to be too many people that are more mentally prepared that already know what shot they're going to hit with what club they're going to hit on every hole for every shot. Obviously if there's an errant tee shot, that game plan is going to change a little bit, but I guarantee you he's got a game plan written down of exactly what he's going to do on every hole, and he's going to try to execute. And if he can, he's going to be right there in contention on Sunday.
He has made the cut for the last 5 years, and starting in 2021, he has improved his finishing position at Augusta each year. 46th, 34th, 14th, 10th last year. Top 10 finish this year? Yeah,
I smell
the cards.
I smell a top 5. $5, Johnson.
Hey, I can't bet against it. That's a strong case. It's a very strong case.
I like it. Right. I like it. Final thoughts on the Masters, gentlemen. Chase, you go first. Final thoughts on Augusta National, the Masters, anything and everything.
Yeah. I would love one of those green jackets. That's my final thought. You know, like Chris alluded to earlier, the Masters is not won by newcomers. You know, that course is hard, and it rewards the players that have played it multiple times, that have learned from the course, and so, you know, I don't think that it's going to be some smaller no-name golfer that's going to win this deal. I think all the names that we mentioned, we're not going to be surprised when we see them at the top of the leaderboard. You know, and again, like the live guys that are coming out, they all can play and they all have a very good chance of winning. Again, you know, DJ, Brooksy, I hate Patrick Reed, but you know, he's won it before. Cam Smith, like plenty of firepower. Phil, you know, that there's a very good chance that someone on the live tour takes home the Masters, and you know, good for them. You know, they got paid and they get to come back and play. You know, I don't know if any of you guys have watched that Full Swing on Netflix, but you know, a lot of the players that were offered live and didn't take it so that they could play in these things kind of feel like the wool was pulled over their eyes, because it's like, we didn't take this and now these guys get to come and play in it.
Has anybody in the history of mankind ever felt more stupid and used than Rory McIlroy?
No.
I mean,
not at all.
I mean, damn. All right, Chris, final thoughts about the Masters, sir.
It's the best time of the year for sports, in my opinion. You've got March Madness, you've got the Masters, you've got opening day, you've got a bunch of great things happening. The Masters, I'm looking forward to it. A perfect Masters for me is Tiger making the cut. It's
we didn't talk about that. I don't think there's a chance that he does, but I pray for it every year.
You're done. Your time is done.
Tiger will make the cut.
We don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to listen to you anymore. You're done.
I'll give you a bet on Tiger making the cut. So I think Tiger will make the cut. Low old guy, don't count out Freddie Couples. He made the cut last year.
Love it.
Let's get him going. And I think I would love this year to see the Masters go into a playoff, which we haven't seen in a long time. And I would love for that playoff to be Rory McIlroy to complete his Grand Slam versus defending champion live defector Jon Rahm. Give me that all day long. But Chase is right. It can be any of these big names. It's going to be a big name. And it's going to be tight. It's going to be a tight year. Nobody's running. Scotty Scheffler is not going to run away with this year. His putter is too up and down. It's going to be 2-3 stroke difference max, I think.
I like it. So, two things. One, I believe the Masters is a top 5 sporting event in the world out of all things.
100%.
Whether you want to put it in the top 5 is up to you, but I believe if you leave it out of your top 5, you're foolish. It's just
here's a quick question. What are the other 4?
God, I mean, you put me on the spot. I would say Masters, World Cup, Super Bowl, maybe given the grandeur and the world involvement of it, maybe like the Daytona 500 or Indianapolis 500, some kind of sporting motor event. And then because of how global it is now, I would probably put the NBA Finals up there. Now, sheer volume of people watching and popularity, cricket is always probably going to be number 1 because all of India watches cricket. So when you put 1.9 billion or whatever it is, and they all only watch one thing, when you look at the actual numbers, if you're actually looking at worldwide numbers, cricket will always be in there. But as far as reach, cricket is nowhere close to that. So my top 5 would be in somewhere in that fashion.
Yeah, I agree with Masters. I agree with the Super Bowl. I agree with the World Cup for sure. I mean, if we're not talking a yearly thing, then I mean, you almost got to throw the Olympics in there on some level.
I'm a big Olympics guy, but
in.
it has fallen off over the last couple rotations so drastically,
Sure.
to the point where I never thought it would fall off that badly. That they're bringing in things into these summer games that are coming up that are almost a joke to include in the Olympics, because it's truly almost making it X Games rather than Olympics, in the sense that you're removing some of those core key things that made the Olympics kind of unique and special. So I love the Olympics. I would have put it up there in the past.
Sure.
I have recently kind of come off that stance because I don't think it's as must watch as it used to be, especially in America.
Yeah. And I'm kind of a romantic too, so I'm putting the World Series in there for sure. Still.
I would just switch out World Series for Ryder Cup myself. Again, biased towards golf, but
I love the Ryder Cup.
For me, the Ryder Cup is almost as fun to watch as the Masters.
Oh, absolutely. The Ryder Cup I love it. Love
fun,
it.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know if on the world stage of sports it's even in the top 10, unfortunately, because golf is so niche in the world sports. And
I wouldn't put any of the other majors in there either.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
The Open for golf people, obviously the Open is going to be the granddaddy and hold that special place. But the Masters is
same course every year.
Even people who don't like golf know Jim Nance's intro to the Masters. So yeah, I would have it up there. The other thing I would say is I think we have a repeat winner. Whether it's a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever it might be, or a second, I think we have a repeat winner this year. As much as I would love to see a Koepka or a Finau or somebody like that win, and that's who I'm going to be pulling for. Rory's not getting his career Grand Slam this year. I believe somebody's going to repeat and get a second green jacket and get to cement their place in that winner's locker room, if you will.
You're saying any past winner will win, not last year's past winner.
Correct. I'm torn on a couple of them, so I'm not going to throw out a bunch of names and look like I'm just trying to, hedge my bet, if you will. I just have this feeling that it's one of those years where we see a past winner repeat or add to their locker and put another green jacket inside it. So that's
looking at recent past year winners. You've got Rahm, Scheffler, Hideki, DJ. So those are all names that have a very good chance. Obviously, Phil's won it plenty of times.
Nobody thought Tiger was going to win in 19, right? Like nobody, you had that like, oh, it'd be so cool if it happened, but nobody actually thought it was going to happen, and then it did. So I just have this feeling that it's going to be kind of one of those years where something like that goes down. And those are usually really fun, cool stories. Because those are usually the names that people don't necessarily have, unless you're talking about like a Scotty Scheffler who's just playing on fire. I wouldn't have him if you put me on the spot. I wouldn't have him at the top of the list of names who I think would fit this bill. I feel like it's more of the guys who you don't expect necessarily. It wouldn't surprise me if DJ came out of nowhere and won and put on another green jacket. Just because he loves Augusta and he can get it going at certain times. And he's kind of one of those guys who, I said it's between the ears. He can go from being all up in his head and playing awful to just not giving a shit out of nowhere and just running a beautiful 3 to 4 days. So,
well, you can tell by the way DJ struts, he doesn't give a fuck ever.
Right. Well, part of that is just his natural nature. The other part is having Wayne Gretzky as your father-in-law, that you either come to terms with you're never going to be the best there is in the family, or you are constantly trying to prove that you're never going to be the best that there is in the family.
He didn't care so much that he won the COVID Masters.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
He won the fall Masters, yeah.
So I just have this weird feeling that it's going to be one of those years where maybe somebody you don't expect or somebody that's talked about, but they're only talked about because they've won it before, not necessarily because they're playing good golf right now. I feel like it's one of those years where we see something like that. But my heart will be pulling for like a Rory, a Finau. I love those first-time winners and that story that you get from what they've done to get there kind of stuff. And winning the Masters as your first major championship is, I mean, that would be epic. If that's the only, I don't care who you are, even people over in the Greater Britain areas are wishing the Masters is their first major that they win. If that's the only one they can win, that's still the one you're picking if you're a true golfer. Like 100%. It is what it is. Okay.
100%.
So that's where I think we're going.
I mean, even if you're a guy like I'm drinking Canadian Black Velvet tonight in honor of the only Canadian to win the Masters. Anybody know who it is without looking it up?
Weir.
Yes, Mike Weir. He was also the 2022 co-winner of the par 3 contest as well. Mike Weir, the lefty. Tell you what, never count out Mike Weir. Never count him out. I heard he was driving Uber in Canada the last time that people checked in with him.
Love that guy. Big fan of lefties, and I'm a big fan of sports knowledge, Chris. So yeah, I got you.
Shout out to Mike Weir. Let's get it going.
Now, as we transition here and move forward, we are talking about dark horses. Another name for dark horses could be Cinderella. There just happens to be a Cinderella rolling through the NCAA tournament that I said people need to be aware of and pay attention to as we start moving on, and that's NC State. Moving over to the NC State conversation and the tournament, which I believe, I don't know why I didn't mention it in my top 5. That's like 1 or 2.
No.
World Cup, the dance. Those are my top 2. So kick out whatever one I said last, Chase. I have had too much whiskey. I apologize. The dance is in the top 5.
Might have been cricket.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Pinky, I apologize. I mentioned cricket in this episode. I'm sure your eyes roll to the back of your head.
A lot of people in India. A lot of people. I get you.
The dance is the sporting event, in my opinion, because it's a one and done. The World Cup is number 2. World Cup, you get to play a round robin. You get an opening round before it's a knockout round. The dance is knockout from the jump. NC State is rolling. They're an 11 seed. They are tied for the lowest seed to make the Final Four with another 11 seed and so on and so forth. But we're going to give NC State their due this year. We're not talking about repeat offenders. They are playing some amazing basketball. And in my personal opinion, they get the better of the matchups playing Purdue. How are you guys feeling about that side of the bracket? Do you have any thoughts? You're gambling degenerates, what I've come to pick up on already. So you definitely have thoughts. So just tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I have a question for you. Why do you think they got lucky getting Purdue? Because Purdue's still the number 1 seed and still it's going to be a tough team to beat.
This is why, and I have already had to eat crow with Purdue this season. They fell on their face last year, and I said they were going to. I thought they would do something similar this year. I thought they would get past the first round or the second round, but I thought they would see an upset. Part of that is because I didn't think Zach Edey had that dog in him, which he has proven me wrong. The other part of it is Zach Edey, while he is a basic fundamental skilled big man, he is not somebody who I thought could straight take over a game. Again, has proven me wrong. The other thing is going back to last year when they were playing 2 guards starting who were freshmen. There's a level of inexperience for Purdue that I didn't trust. This year they're sophomores, but they got knocked out in the first round last year. I didn't feel like they had gained a whole lot of experience. They did the same thing in the regular season that they did last season. They lost to Creighton this year in the regular season, who had the epitome of an up and down year. Creighton beat the 1, 3, and 5 seeds this year at one point during the season. They also lost 3 or 4 times to unranked teams. So when I see a level of inconsistency in a team like that, it makes me pause and start questioning a lot. I also said, though, while I didn't have any faith in Purdue, Purdue had the easiest road to the Final Four out of any one seed, in my opinion. So they got really lucky in that scenario. But I called from the start of the tournament, watching NC State have to win the ACC tournament to even get into the dance. And they rolled through that ACC tournament the way they did, winning 5 games in 5 days. What I saw from that team is what I look for in a team to make a run in the NCAA tournament, which is a dude who can take over a game or be your scorer when you need him to, and great guard play. NC State has DJ Burns, who can go ahead and take over a game if needs to in the low post, which is just makes my heart swell 10 times because I love that footwork and back to the basket game. And they have great guard play. I still don't trust Purdue's guards, but they do have a guy who can take over a game, which I didn't believe in Edey. I still like NC State because you go to the other side of the bracket and you have to play Alabama or UConn, which we'll talk about here in a second, but I don't like either of those matchups for NC State right now. I think they match up great against Purdue.
Well, and, NC State, to get there, they had to take down Marquette, who was, I think, number 2, right?
Yep. I was huge on Marquette, too.
They took down Duke after that, and the games weren't close. They won both games by 10-plus points. So, I mean, I like where your head's at. I think they definitely have a shot at Purdue, and they're hot right now. So I wouldn't count them out by any means. And you want to talk about Cinderella, they're the epitome of that.
Well, it gives me just goosebump shades of 1983 Jim Valvano, and I had thought it was an 8 seed. I was corrected recently that it was a 6 seed. NC State upsetting Houston to win the Natty, and you get the Jim Valvano famous scene of him running around the court looking for somebody to hug. Just epic. And that was NC State. And now it feels like, 41 years later, they're doing it again.
Do not count them out. For every reason that you just said, I think you cannot count them out. I think they match up better against Purdue than anybody on the other side of the bracket that's left. I would be smashing the 9.5 point line that's currently in Vegas right now. I would be smashing that so hard, like definitely. And if they manage to pull it out, I think they get creamed by UConn. But I think it's a great story. I love an underdog story, and I think that if they can pull out one more, then it's as good as the championship for them. Really,
I love that. I love that thought.
I don't think anybody really has a shot against UConn.
I agree.
So that's where I was going to go next. So I love that you guys. I am a North Carolina fan, Chris. Now to explain to you why, growing up as a Nebraska Cornhusker fan, I did not know that said college had any other sport other than men's football.
Fair.
So by the time I was old enough to realize that they did, in fact, have other athletics at this college, I had already had to pick another team because I didn't think they existed. My best friend happened to be a North Carolina fan in the heyday of the early 90s, Eric Montrose winning that Natty. I was a big Fab Five guy because I like to go against the grain. Surprise, surprise, Chase, right? But the C Webb, the Jalen Rose, and everybody else that went with that Fab Five, I was a big fan of. But again, that was me. I am loyal to a fault to Nebraska, right, Chase? But I literally did not know other things existed, and I had to find something else because I liked all sports. So being a North Carolina fan, I had North Carolina actually getting to the championship and winning it all this year. Part of that was due to the fact of just sheer experience. I mean, you got Baycott and RJ Davis, who have each played 4+ years of college basketball, made an epic run 2 years ago, didn't even make the tournament last year. I felt like there was kind of that built-in story, plus the experience, plus that like chip on the shoulder. Also, I did it because literally none of it was homerism. It is so damn hard to repeat in the dance. Like, it is epically hard to repeat. And so while I thought UConn was the best team this season in college basketball, looking at the brackets and the way things lined up, they possibly could have had to play Auburn, North Carolina, and Alabama. I mean, there was a list there. I was like, damn, how hard it is, plus what the brackets look like. I didn't have UConn winning it all, even though I thought they were the best team. Now, I don't know how anybody beats them, because UConn basically looks at you and says, you guys decide how we want to play today. You want to play a late 80s Detroit Pistons bully ball style? All right, cool. We'll destroy you. If that's your style of basketball, we'll let it be close for the first half, and then by the end of the game, we'll win by 40. You want to run up and down the court? Cool. We'll let it be close the first half, and we'll win by 40. You want to shoot? You want to pass? You want to play in the paint? You want to play defense? Low-scoring shot clock? You tell us how you want to play this game, and that's how we'll play for you, and then just beat you at your own game. And Alabama's only hope is, and I believe this stat is correct, I'm not going to look it up right now, so if I'm wrong, please go ahead and tell me to eat crow, and I'll do it next week. But I believe...
And you're eating a lot of crow, bro.
Dude, look, we've talked about this before. I'm okay with it because the more we thought about it, my takes are on a 70% hit, roughly 65,
That's
70.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'll eat my crow when I have to. I don't mind it, because usually it helps you educate yourself and learn, right? I'll be okay with that. But I believe I remember hearing Alabama shoots 50% of their shot attempts come from the three-point line. So they literally live and die by the three. And they like to play up and down like North Carolina. So that is a recipe for disaster for UConn, because that causes them to, okay, we'll play however you want, but live and die by the three is a different animal. And so if you just happen to be off that day, if you happen to be cold for a half or something, you could put yourself in a hole you can't come out of. So if Alabama is hitting their threes and they're able to run up and down the court, they have a chance. UConn still smokes them and blows them out of the water, in my opinion, though.
I think so. And you know what was a very telling moment for me was the Illinois matchup. It kind of raised my eyebrows, because Illinois had a lot of good going for them, right? And a lot of good momentum rolling in there. They had a good first half against UConn.
Yep.
And then that run that UConn had after halftime told me everything that I needed to know about UConn. And like the adjustments, and Illinois couldn't even think about trying to recover. They were on their heels the entire second half.
It was what, 23-23 with like 3 minutes left in the first half. The half ended 28-23 UConn, and it ended up being, by all said and done, from that 3-minute period in the first half to, I think it was like 10 minutes left in the second half, UConn went on a 30-0 run.
There was a time where
you could 30-0 run.
You could have convinced me that Illinois wasn't going to score again in the second half. There was a time where I was like, well, okay, like that type of even if Alabama comes out hot, and even if Alabama kind of hits them in the mouth a little bit, I think with the adjustments that they're able to make and the flexibility that where they're able to kind of adapt their game, I think it's UConn's tournament to lose at this point, really.
I fully agree. And at this point, usually you ask, well, what's the team's identity? Because they're going to make everybody else play that way if you're a great team. I think UConn, like I said, has done the exact opposite. And they said, we believe we're such a great team. You tell us how you want to play, and we'll beat you at your own game. And that's what they're going to do. And I don't think anybody's going to stop them. And what Dan Hurley is doing as a head coach right now and reviving that program that people thought after Calhoun, they were questioning whether or not it would do anything. Ollie came in and won that championship that nobody expected them to win. And then he had whatever issues you want to talk about behind closed doors that caused him and UConn to part ways and them to have a lot of sanctions and other things where people thought, all right, this is finally the death of a once great program. Dan Hurley comes in and says, nah, hold my beer. And now they look like the preeminent program in college basketball that's about to win a back-to-back, that the way they're built and the way college basketball, football, and everything else is set up with NIL and transfer portal could very well, if they win 2, could be in position for a 3 and could be looking at a 60s UCLA run for all intents and purposes, depending on how this goes. So I agree. I think it's their tournament to lose at this point, and it would amaze me if they don't run through everybody remaining. And I think this has been one of the best tournaments in recent memory. We haven't gotten a lot of upsets as much as we've gotten a lot of chaos in the sense that we've gotten a lot of great games. And I will take great games over anything every single time, whether it's the higher seed or lower seed winning, I don't care. Give me buzzer beater potentials, and I will say I'm there.
Right.
So you got a couple of Cinderella stories potentially, and then you got NC State run to the Final Four. There's your Cinderella. There's your story. Shades of 1983, like I talked about. I believe they beat Purdue. I think Purdue and Zach Edey had a great run. They redeemed themselves from last year, being a 1 seed, getting beat by a 16. Good job for you. I think NC State has a much better chance at beating UConn. I think it would be a better game. I think they're playing better basketball. Purdue's here because Edey's playing out of his mind. When you're throwing up 40 points and 20-ish rebounds a game, it's going to be hard to beat you, period. But NC State has some big boys, and they have better guard play. That's what I like. UConn, Alabama. Alabama's going to try to run. They're going to try to live and die by the 3. They will die by that 3, and UConn will run away with that game at the second half. And then I think UConn at this point, as much as I didn't want to pick them because of how just insanely hard it is to repeat, I think they just run away with the championship too. I think Chris is right, and they just are so dominant at this point. People are going to look at this, and it's going to be talked about in the record books as one of the best runs in men's college basketball history, I believe, by the time it's all said and done.
Plus 9.5 NC State. Slam it.
Slam it.
I like it. So that's the Final Four. That's the Masters. We did discuss a little NFL to start. Is there anything else you guys like? Hey, we got time. We got a platform. Is there something you'd like to discuss when it comes to the sport world? NFL opening day just had a very unsuspecting no-hitter. That's all we're going to talk about. That's it. I'm going to call it there. So don't bring up baseball.
It was for the Astros, so we don't need to even talk about it.
Is there anything else you guys want to discuss?
I feel like I'm somewhat like I haven't watched wrestling in years, but I feel like my TikTok algorithm somehow has me on wrestling TikTok. So I feel like I'm pretty well versed on some of the storylines going into WrestleMania. So I feel like and honestly, like I feel like wrestling has kind of got a weird buzz right now as they go into like their Netflix deal where it's like, okay, like The Rock is coming in and he's like doing his thing, doing his thing.
Cheers, my guy. Cheers, because
wait, The Rock is coming back to wrestling?
Yeah, he's back, baby.
I'm going to give you a rundown right now because this is how we're going to finish. Pinky's going to be very proud of us, okay? So you guys are going to get some extra, some bonus points. You'll get invited back because of this alone.
You mentioned wrestling, so I felt like it had to be brought up on
I love it.
Here. Yeah.
I love it. Here's the deal. First of all, Pinky and I have been very open over the years. We enjoy wrestling. We don't give a shit what you think. We know it's fake. We know there is a built-in storyline that is going to be followed. You want to call it scripted television? Fine. We don't care. They're still doing real things when they're jumping off the top ropes and body slamming each other, and they are still athletes, whether you want to admit it or not. Like, they're 100%. Doing some crazy shit, okay? So we find it entertaining because we take it for what it is, entertainment, with some very crazy athletic abilities thrown in. The Rock has come back, Chase, and he is not the people's champ anymore. He has got heel.
Complete with his Hollywood Rock music.
Heel Rock has been, over the last couple months, has been amazing. He's whipping people with belts. He's calling the fans the jabronis and telling them to shut up. He's talking about people in Utah in ways that I'm not going to describe on this show because I like to have a fan base. And I haven't built one up enough to be able to say whatever I want.
Shout out to Utah.
So it's great. And guys, here's the thing. If you have cable television, you probably have Peacock. And Peacock is what all these are on now, and it's free. So I've got some buddies coming over. Pinky's coming over. We're going to have a couple other friends. Robert, who's now part of the podcast, if you watch us, he's going to come over too. We're going to introduce him a little more to the wrestling. And it's Saturday at the same time as the Final Four.
Oh, shit.
So we throw on the Final Four on the big TV. We put the wrestling on the iPad or whatever until the games are over. Or if the games are just blowouts and they're really bad and they're not worth watching, we'll put those on the iPad. And we'll throw the wrestling up on the big TV. But
flexible, like UConn's game.
Yeah, dude, exactly. It gives you a chance to drink a little whiskey, hang out with your friends, eat a little food, and just enjoy. Just enjoy for what things are, right? So we're really looking forward to the Bloodline storyline being over. So if anybody watches this, keep an eye on the Bloodline. We're hoping Roman Reigns' reign as the champion comes to an end. We're hoping the heel Rock is actually just a disguise for turning on Roman Reigns in the Bloodline.
He's going to turn on him, right?
That's what we're hoping for. We're hoping he becomes the head of the table and sets that table straight and gets rid of Roman Reigns in the Bloodline. Cody Rhodes, what does he do? Who knows? But his entrance song and everybody humming along
finishes the story. He can't not at this point.
He's teaming with Seth Rollins on Saturday night to do a tag team with The Rock and Roman Reigns. I mean, come on.
Here's a prediction. You want a prediction? Here's a prediction. I think on the first night, I think that you get Bloodline involvement in the tag match.
Definitely.
And then I think there is foreshadowing and this is from a guy who hasn't watched a wrestling event in a while, but this is what, so I think there was foreshadowing in the Rock beatdown of Cody Rhodes. What was that? A Raw? At the end of Raw? Yep. Right. Yep. So you had a Cena Austin trailer in the back.
Yes.
So yes. I think one or both of them might come back to even the playing field against the Bloodline in that tag match. And then I think The Rock turns on Reigns on the Sunday Rhodes versus Reigns match. And I think Cody finishes the story. And I think, quite honestly, Triple H being at the head of the creative is cooking. Vince McMahon being gone from the WWE might be what saves the WWE at the end of the day, to be honest.
Well, and to take it a step further, The Rock owns, is it TKO that just bought the WWE, and The Rock is on the board of directors for said company. So
final boss at all levels, man.
Yeah, there's a reason he's involved himself into the storyline and injected such nostalgia, if you will, for said things. I also believe they're trying to bring a little bit of that attitude era back into that 90s. You mentioned Stone Cold, Cena, that kind of.
I mean, Cody Rhodes bled at the end of that beatdown.
Well, so The Rock talked about how he doesn't care about being family friendly. He's going to talk how he feels.
They're bleeping out F-bombs on Raw. So, I think
the heel Rock is magic. It's
the dawning of a new era.
I can already tell you. Do you guys smell that?
Yes.
You smell what The Rock is cooking?
That's what I'm talking about.
That'd literally be the only reason I would watch.
Chris,
he's
Pinky
there.
You just laid out what Pinky and I have been talking about is our ultimate hopeful moment is Saturday, The Rock and Roman beating Cody and Seth with involvement from the Bloodline in some terrible fashion.
Can you imagine on that Saturday match if you hear the glass breaking at some point in that? Like,
dude, I'll go nuts.
It would
Stone
be
Cold's my guy.
crazy. It would be absolutely nuts.
And then still allowing the Bloodline to win that match would just make for an even more epic betrayal from Roman Reigns' standpoint.
Exactly.
Of The Rock finally setting things straight and right, which is what we're hoping.
They're not dumb. They're not dumb. Yeah,
that's what we're hoping to see as well. So we shall see. There's some other fun storylines in there with your Rhea Ripley's and things of that nature, with you will, on the women's side. And
hey, I feel like something's gone under the radar. Is what's his face hasn't cashed in his Money in the Bank thing yet?
Right. Dominic, not Dominic.
What's his name? I can't remember his name right now, but
not Dominic Mysterio. Why is that the only name I can think of now? Priest.
Yes.
Damian Priest.
Yes.
Damian Priest is not, and I think they have. I personally believe it's going to be one of those things where something will happen at WrestleMania, but it'll be one of those storylines where it's like we had to do something and just get rid of it and move on because we fumbled that bag so bad that there's no way we can allow him to do anything cool anymore. So they'll do something where he does something that allows him to cash it in, but then it'll epically fail. I believe because
the Drew McIntyre match, when is that? Is that a first night thing or is that a second night thing?
I haven't looked at the lineup just yet. I believe that's a Saturday.
Okay.
We'll have to look, but yeah, again, guys, it's entertainment. And it's look, Chris hasn't even watched in years, but he's seen enough TikTok to where he's actually got some interest. And if he finds Peacock on Saturday and Sunday, he's going to watch. And then I'm going to turn around and be like, come on back on and hang out and talk about it for a little bit.
Name your show. Name any show that's not a live, actual sporting event. And you're buying into a script on any level there. It just adds some athleticism, and you've got, and this is what it is. You have to accept it for what it is. Like,
exactly.
I feel like the era of being like, well, wrestling's fake, like, that's weak. That's a weak criticism at this point because everybody who is a fan of wrestling already knows that. You know what I mean? So, it's not the 80s anymore.
I love it. I love it. And Cotton, let's be honest. If you could just go ahead and on Saturday, go ahead and let the people know that it's WrestleMania start day and give us your Hulk picture for all to enjoy. If you just want to throw that up to the podcast, I'll gladly reshare that. I appreciate you, my guy.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No, sir, it does not. Brother, it does not.
Chase, you've consumed wrestling at some point in your life, I'm sure.
80s.
Okay, fair enough.
Chris, if you have not seen his rendition of the Hulk, I will say the man does it proud. I'll just leave it at that. And at some point, hopefully Chase will share the picture with the world and we'll put it on the podcast page. Chase, just tag us.
There you go.
We'll share it up. Start a WrestleMania Saturday.
Fine.
Make it happen.
I don't think Chase backs down from a challenge, and that's what sounds like. That's what this is.
He does
no,
it.
He sure
he does it if it involves Nebraska beating Oregon and him having to wear red.
This guy's an Oregon fan. The guy in the Colorado shirt is an Oregon fan. That's shocking to me. Shocking.
Well, apparently he used to be until they lose to Nebraska, and he has to, not follow through on a bet. I'm just saying.
What's the over/under?
Let's go back to wrestling here.
Look at that.
Whoa.
If that's not a Hulk, I don't know what is.
Oh God.
Doesn't get much better than that, bro.
You were definitely taking your vitamins and saying your prayers in that photo, sir.
Yes.
At least.
You're well represented, my guy. I will give you a very well representation of Hulkamania there.
Absolutely. What's your Mount Rushmore?
Dude, I mean, for me, I'm always gonna have Stone Cold and Ric Flair.
Sure.
Because to me, Stone Cold has the best entrance music of all time, and he backed it up.
Sure.
Every single time. And not much in life is better than a good woo. So
Absolutely.
Those two are always there.
As much as Hogan gets hate, and stiff ring worker, doesn't want to put people over, all the criticisms. I don't know how he doesn't go on there.
Well, Hulk's kind of always there because without him, we're probably not talking about
Exactly.
Saturday and Sunday.
No, he's the Godfather, man.
I like The Undertaker. I like throwing him as my fourth because I think they screwed him on. He should have retired with an undefeated WrestleMania record. I think they kind of lost their way a little bit when they had him lose.
It shouldn't have been Lesnar. It shouldn't have been Lesnar.
Yeah,
he didn't need to go over.
Yeah, I don't like that. And then I will give an honorable mention to my boy Goldberg. The only reason he's not in the top 4 is because he was WCW, not WWF. And so when you're always in the quote unquote maybe little brother and not the big brother league, it's hard to kind of elevate you into there. But I was always a big Goldberg guy as well.
That's fair. I'm not in agreement with anywhere near a top 4 for Goldberg.
I mean, the original Spear, his undefeated streak that he had going. I think he's low-key underrated, even though he's very well known.
But you put a guy like William Regal in a match with him and be like, have a wrestling match, and he gets cooked in 5 minutes of action.
So, yeah, you want to talk about a pure wrestler? I could see where you're going to leave Goldberg maybe even out of your top 10.
Sure, Impact, I get you. But from like an in-ring technician, you're putting people like Michaels, Angle, a bunch of Bret Hart over Goldberg any day.
Sure. I like that. Well, what's your top 4?
It's definitely Hogan's got to be on there for sure. I think you gotta either be a Stone Cold or a Rock person, but I feel like Stone Cold gets the nod over the Rock because of the whole. I mean, he kind of like made it from the 316 moment after the King of the Ring on. It's a Stone Cold moment. I think Flair, you got to put on. Forget about. He should have retired after the Shawn Michaels retirement match. Yeah. That was so beautiful. And then he's just screwed things up ever since then. And the fourth is a weird one. I think the Undertaker is a top level dark horse. John Cena is a good argument as well because I feel like he ushered in a new era of wrestling fans. So I can see either of those. I got to give the edge to the Undertaker just because he's the Undertaker. Yeah.
I'll throw out one more dark horse that I've always been a big fan of that I think probably just because of politics behind the scenes never got to fully see his potential, and that's Sting.
Oh, right. He just had his last match in AEW.
Yeah, which was another one where I was like, literally saw that the other day, and even though I pay attention to WWE now and Monday Night Raw, whatever they are doing, but I saw that news and I was like, cringed a little bit when I saw Sting was still. I mean,
but quite honestly,
when I saw the match, I was like, yeah, that looked like a 60-year-old wrestling.
Sure, he was still jumping off stuff though, man.
He was
giving it his all. He's not peak.
When you walk and you take a step and your whole leg moves as one and doesn't bend, you're like, yeah, you're 60.
For sure. Absolutely. And I'm shocked that I even know these things because I haven't watched a Raw or a SmackDown since college, and it's been 20 years.
Dude, your TikTok has been doing you well, my friend. I will say that.
I don't know how I'm on it, but I'm on it.
Literally, for a guy who watches Monday Night Raw because Monday Night Football's not on anymore.
Right.
And there's really nothing else to watch. Yeah, you're right there. Your storylines are good enough to just roll into the weekend and be just fine.
I tell you what, okay, fair enough. Let's go Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley. Let's have a time.
I love it. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Always like to do some final thoughts. Anything we discussed, anything you'd like to say, really doesn't matter. It's just whatever you want to throw out there. Chris?
Okay, so baseball. I think the Reds contend for the NL Central this year. I know it's crazy talk. It's a weird division, but we had a better than anticipated year last year. It was a year where I didn't even re-up my MLB TV membership last year. I just did the radio version last year because I was so down on where the Reds were at. But they overperformed.
You got a dude.
there's a lot of young talent who they want to play as a team and win for each other, and I think that's huge. So I think the Reds contend for the Central. Mark it down. I think that we're vying for a wild card spot at the very least come, playoff time. 2, Burrow's healthy. I think T. Higgins starts the year as a Bengal. I think the Bengals are a wild card team at least, and they contend for the AFC North. I think the Ravens are a problem, and I think the Steelers are going to be a sneaky problem this year. I don't think Russell Wilson plays the full season. I think Justin Fields comes in and starts at least half, maybe the majority of the games, and is good. Masters, give me a playoff. I just want to see a Masters playoff. Tiger Woods makes the cut. It's going to be a known guy, a live guy, very well could win it. And if he does, it's going to be a ground shaker. Chase, hit us.
Love it. Come on, Cotton. What you got? Final thoughts.
Talking Colorado sports, calling Avs Nuggets championship. Both.
Yes.
Wow.
Let's go.
Yes. I love
twofer.
that. Same year.
Twofer.
Repeat into 2 and 3. I love it.
Twofer, baby. Broncos. Take Bo Nix in the draft. I have a sneaky suspicion about it. I also think if John Harbaugh had the chance to take J.J. McCarthy, he would pass up on him for another possible receiver. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Come on, Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
He's not going to be available at that point.
I don't know if he's going to be available, dude.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
You guys probably haven't heard this, but a crazy, way out of left field, harebrained idea that I had that has like 0.001% or whatever likelihood of happening, but makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Harbaugh trades Justin Herbert for a haul and drafts J.J. McCarthy, completely resets the franchise and the rebuild that they've already been working on, and starts fresh with his own dude and a plethora of draft picks to fill all the holes for the next couple of years.
Define a haul for Justin Herbert.
I mean, for Justin Herbert, for me, I'd be thinking probably a minimum of 3 firsts and a couple starters.
Shoo-wee, man.
Ooh.
Yowzer.
Yeah.
That would be.
I think that's a stretch, Caleb.
They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it, but I think that would be a roughly.
They can't do it for that.
I think you'd be surprised. I think there's teams out there who would do it.
Who?
Name one.
I mean, you look at what teams have given up to move up to the first overall pick in the draft to take a quarterback. Very similar to that type of haul. When you're talking about a proven commodity in a Justin Herbert, a quarterback like that has never truly come
What
on
has
the
he
market.
proven?
Dude, everybody considers him a for sure top 10 quarterback. There's some people who think he's roughly top 5. So
what are those people smoking?
I think he's roughly top 5. He just hasn't had the team around him to put up those numbers.
Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow.
Who's the 4 in front?
Put. This is how I always look at it. Trade out the player. And if you don't think that player can put up at least the same numbers, okay. But if you put Justin Herbert on San Francisco, you put him on KC, you put him on Cincinnati, you put him on Baltimore, do you not think he puts up the same numbers or better as those quarterbacks on those teams already?
I think he puts up way more interceptions than all of those quarterbacks.
I don't.
I'm borderline saying that this might be
I would
hot.
take this might be a lot to say, but I would rather have Brock Purdy lead my 49ers team than Justin Herbert.
I'd almost rather have Kirk Cousins.
Bold.
I think
Proven.
you guys are underestimating Justin Herbert because of the leadership that's been in that building previously. And he has not been able to give you. Think about what a Patrick Mahomes or a Brock Purdy has.
Sure.
Now think about what Justin Herbert was working with.
And the Chargers defense was
What do you mean?
abysmal.
What was he working with?
But offensively,
offensively, he had a great offense around
Keenan
him.
Allen's, Mike Williams,
who weren't there half the season.
Austin Eckler. I mean, the team should have
Austin
been great.
Eckler fell off
weren't.
last year to the point where he is now a backup running back in Washington. So again, I go back to leadership. What was that head coach and offensive scheme doing to help said player when in his rookie season was being talked about as a dark horse MVP almost because he put up 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions and 4,000 plus yards. So
okay, so with your argument, then Russell Wilson was only bad because of the leadership that he had in front of him.
No,
come on, Caleb.
No, there's nuances to this. Justin Herbert was putting up numbers with a lack of an offensive line, offensive weapons who were in and out because of injury, and a head coach who came to be proven was really bad at his job. Now put him with a Kyle Shanahan, who's one of the best head coaches in the league and runs an amazing offensive system that always has his quarterback in positions to succeed. Andy Reid with that same mentality. Or you go put him in Philadelphia with a ton of weapons who are healthy. So I just think there's scheme and opportunity are a big reason in the NFL for why guys succeed and don't succeed. I think Justin Herbert's a top 5 talent at the quarterback position.
We will agree to disagree, my friend.
Well, it's good to know you are fully not an Oregon fan anymore. I'm glad I was able to finally set that record straight.
I didn't say I wasn't an Oregon fan. I'm just repping the CU squad as well. You know, I didn't rep them for so long because they were so bad I couldn't even watch them.
Right. That's your definition of bandwagon. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like the epitome of a bandwagon fan, sir. You don't see me not wearing red on Saturdays because Nebraska's been trash for the last 20 plus years.
Says the UNC
nope,
fan.
I don't. Yeah. Or maybe you just didn't watch Nebraska basketball because they were awful.
Well, once I learned they had a team, I became a fan. I'm not going to just all of a sudden not be a UNC fan because I became smarter.
Right.
Look, I openly admit how the fandom goes. Fair. It's not like I'm trying to hide from it, okay? But yeah, I think Herbert's worth a haul if they did it. I think they would get a haul for him.
Well, I would like to see at this time next year the splits. This time next year, I would like to look back and see the splits from the 2024 results of a Baker Mayfield season versus a Justin Herbert season without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
God, that will be something I now put on my radar.
This past season,
because Baker's got weapons left and right.
Baker Mayfield, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks, over 4,000 yards for Baker last season.
Yeah. I had to eat crow because
I mean, to bring it full circle, we talked about Baker at the very beginning, you know?
Here's the kicker, though, is I already believe Justin Herbert's numbers are going to be deflated this year because of the system Jim Harbaugh wants to run.
Here we go.
He's going to want to be very run heavy. And look, I didn't think J.J. McCarthy was a first-round pick initially going into this season. And there's a number of reasons why I'm not going to rehash it all through here. I have since come around and said I'm eating crow. I believe J.J. McCarthy is not only a first-round pick now, I believe he's a top 10, and I believe there is potential. I'm not all the way there yet, but I could see where somebody could argue he has the highest ceiling out of any quarterback in this draft now. I have redone my evaluation. I have eaten my crow, and I can see where people are saying that now. I don't necessarily believe that, but I understand where they're coming with it now. I think Justin Herbert could be in a very similar situation where what Jim Harbaugh is going to ask him to do is way below his talent level, but it is in such a way that he can do it at such a high efficiency level. They win because of it, and he's okay because they're winning. So I automatically believe what you see from Justin Herbert next year is going to be deflated numbers compared to even his career averages. But pay attention to the efficiency at which he's doing it. I think that's going to say a lot. I think you could see his completion percentage be at the highest it's ever been, and his touchdown interception ratio be at the highest it's ever been. But maybe he only throws 22 to 25 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 3,800 yards.
3 interceptions on the season? Is that what I heard?
Possibly.
Clip this, fans.
By all means, I don't mind. I think what he's going to be asked to do is going to be very similar to what J.J. McCarthy did at Michigan. And I think Justin Herbert's very capable of that.
Boy, if Justin Herbert throws 3 picks next year, I will come back and do a dance.
It'll be interesting to see. I think he's capable of doing it. Will that happen? I don't know. Him and what Jim Harbaugh does with the Chargers offense this year is one of my biggest kind of what ifs that I'm looking at going into this NFL season coming up. So
high ceiling, questionable marks kind of situation.
And doing it in such a way where you've got your big name quarterback and no other names around him.
I'm just saying, if I have a fantasy football situation where I'm looking at Justin Herbert and I'm looking at Baker Mayfield, I'm gonna have a decision to make.
This will sound crazy, but if we're talking fantasy, I would take Baker.
Well, there you go.
Based on what fantasy is and what I think those two are going to do next year.
Sure.
Because I think Justin Herbert is far away the better quarterback. But like I just said, I think you're going to see deflated numbers next year because of what Jim Harbaugh is going to want to do. And I think it's going to translate into winning games. And so I'm not expecting big numbers from Justin Herbert. But I don't have a lot, but whatever I could bet, I would say if you went around the league and you ask people what Herbert's value is,
sure,
I don't think 3 firsts would be out of the question.
Wow. That, I don't know, Chase. I mean, that seems excessive to me.
You got to remember too, I think he's only 26.
He's young. So you're feeling more of like a 2 to 3 year window for like Justin Herbert to pop with a system, implementing a new system. Yeah. Okay.
Again, you got to think, NFL is very much on that. What can you do for me? Not as much as what have you done for me, like a baseball is.
Sure.
So they're willing to bet the farm on a what if rather than a what is.
Sure.
Or what has been.
And a lot less games too, right? So I mean, you need that pop.
So,
Chase, I think you're muted.
Yeah, he is, which is where he should be.
I see the slash through the mic. There he is. Oh no! There he is.
Caleb, I will have an entire platter of crow for you to eat when I call you week 4 and he's already at 3 interceptions.
Wow, 4 games. Let's go.
4 games.
He's not snap calling it. So 3 interceptions on the year is ridiculous. So
I'm not going to eat crow, Chase, just for the simple fact that I'm only saying, like, that's not what I'm predicting. Like, that's not what I'm predicting the season stats to be. I'm saying it's something I could very much see because I see
this was me dropping the challenge flag.
No, I'm just saying, like I said before, I see him having the potential to do what J.J. McCarthy did this year at Michigan. If you're going to put me on the spot and say I have to predict his stats for next year, I'm going to lean higher than what I just predicted for yards. I'm going to lean higher than what I just predicted for touchdowns because I don't think Jim Harbaugh. I would say if I had to truly predict Justin Herbert's stats for next year, I would say about 4,200 yards. I would project him at about 32 touchdowns. I would project him at about 14 to 15 interceptions.
That's right. That's correct.
Now we're talking.
And I would project him at about 62% completion percentage.
I like the completion percentage. I like the modified interception. I think the touchdowns might be a bit high, but yeah, it's a little high.
The reason I would bump his touchdowns up a little bit from last year is because Jim Harbaugh is just a really good fucking coach, and what he had last year was trash. So I don't see the offense I can't imagine the offense being as bad as it was last year, even if they lost some names as far as the weapons go. I think Jim Harbaugh has proven himself time and time again coming into a new situation that I would bet on him having the success for scoring an error on that side rather than the under is the reason for that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But again, it would not surprise me if he went like 38, 23, 3, and 66.
What's the Chargers' record next year?
I'm thinking they're going to be around, because you can't be 500 anymore, unfortunately, until the NFL adds that 18th game onto the schedule.
Are they winning 8 games?
Yeah. So I think they're going to be 9-8. I think that 9-8 area is, if you underestimate Harbaugh, I feel sorry for you. I think there is talent, especially on that defensive side of the ball still. I think Harbaugh is a mastermind when it comes to offense, and I think Herbert's a stud. So I can't see them having a losing record. I just don't see that.
I definitely do. And listen, the Harbaugh family, super smart. John's great at Michigan, but the NFL is a little different than college football, man.
Well, if he had never done it before, I'd agree with you. But
you look at a Chip Kelly or someone like that who like just dominated in college and then totally ate shit in the NFL.
But this isn't that. He won and took the 49ers to a Super Bowl with Alex Smith and Kaepernick. Do you think Justin Herbert is worse than those two?
I think he's better than Kaepernick.
Agreed.
So, if this was Harbaugh's first stint in the NFL, I'd fully agree with you, and I wouldn't be saying anything I'm saying right now. But the fact that he's already done it, proven it, and can rely on all of that, and he gets to start with a stud at quarterback, in my opinion, I think he hits the ground running.
We shall see.
I feel like we should be talking a lot about John Harbaugh over Jim. I mean, what an NFL guy he's been.
Well, we can't because we've already spent a lot of time on that, and we're out of time today, Chris. So you've done enough today to allow yourself an open invite to come back. So anytime you want to discuss anything, you let us know, and you are more than welcome to come on. Chase, as always, you're my boy Blue, so come hang out whenever you want. But appreciate you guys hanging out with me for the evening, filling in for my cohorts while they are at the Nuggies game. As always, if you have those moments, those opportunities, those times to spend with your loved ones, family, friends, your inner circle, do not waste them. Cherish them. Always take advantage of them. We appreciate everybody for supporting us in any way you do. Till next week, we're out.
Later, boys.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out.